Dr. Connors? Have you been juicing? Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. I love Godzilla, as evidenced by this, my worst thumbnail. No, more text. Worlds collided with the publication of Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong. Frankly, it was one of my favorite comic book events in recent years. As a kid who grew up on the Max Fleischer cartoons, it's a battle I always wanted to see. Back then, this was my Godzilla, and this was my Superman, so when I saw this DC Multiverse Monsterverse set, I felt like a kid again. But will this 2-pack be legendary or a legendary letdown? Starting with the packaging, and this gruesome twosome comes in a monster-sized window box. In addition to our typical names and logos, there's also logos for Legendary Comics and the Monsterverse. Standard names and logos on one side. There's actually some fan artwork in the background, which is pretty cool. And then on the other side is the full title of Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, if only they'd turned that into a cartoon movie. On the back is some cover art of Superman and Godzilla. It's actually a variant cover for issue number 6 by In-Hyuk Lee. If you look closely, you can actually see the smudges where they erased Wonder Woman from the top of Godzilla's head. Either way, the artwork is wonderful and just makes me even more excited to crack it open. For those searching in store, here's the UPC. Thanks to a bit of extra effort for packaging, Superman vs. Godzilla gets 5 points. Moving on to presentation, and let's release the beast. Superman stands at 7 1/4 inches, or 18.5 centimeters, and was made using that Crisis on Infinite Earths body. Hands down, this is my favorite McFarlane Superman buck, and I really love that big S logo and darker blue color scheme. It reminds me of this DC Direct John Byrne Superman, which is one of my favorites in my collection. It also has a really strong Alex Ross vibe. They did unfortunately cut a couple of corners, like not painting the red belt loops. I'm also back and forth on the wrist balls not being flesh tone. Looking at a figure like Silver Age, I do appreciate that they did that there, but an argument could also be made that it makes his sleeves look short. I don't know. Sound off in the comments and let me know which you like better. On the other hand, I'm very happy to report that they did include the S on the back of his cape. It's been made using that basketball shorts-like material that they usually use for Superman. The main thing I'm iffy on, and I expect a lot of people are, is the head. Kinda looks like Superman's about to spit his own atomic breath back at Godzilla. And not that I don't like having a Superman that looks like Costas Mandalore, but an extra head with a static expression would have been very much appreciated. Devil's advocate, for the purpose of fighting a big monster like Godzilla, it is fun. Unfortunately though, I can honestly say that if it wasn't packed with Godzilla, I would have never bought this Superman on its own. Unless of course I was planning on doing a head swap video. And with that, let's talk about the big guy himself. To his highest point, Godzilla stands at 1 foot, but from nose to tail is about 2 feet. Naturally, this is a completely new sculpt, and McFarlane has done an exceptional job. Every scale and crevice is accounted for. I particularly like all that gray dry brushing to bring the details out. The figure itself is a rotocast figure, so it's a thick kind of vinyl. Still, it definitely has a bit of heft to it. There's also a lot of personality in the face, and is it just me or does it kind of look like he's smiling? Jokerized Godzilla confirmed! I really like the Legendary Pictures Godzilla design, and I am incredibly happy by what I'm looking at. I wouldn't have said no to more paint applications, of course, but for the purpose of a mass market wide release like this, I am more than satisfied. We'll have more to discuss in other categories, but for presentation, Godzilla gets 5 points. The cut corners and awkward face, however, means that Superman gets 3 points. If you're enjoying this video so far, do me a gigantic favor and give it a like. Moving on to Poseability, and we've seen this body a few times now, so with your blessing, I'm just gonna kind of speed through it. From the top, and Superman can look up this high and down this low, side to side tilt, and all the way around. His arms can raise this high and get complete rotation. In addition to bicep swivel, he has double jointed elbows that can bend this deep, and at the ends of the arms are wrists that can swivel and hinge in any direction. Move into the middle, and Superman has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell waist. He can arch back this far, which for a flying character is great. Here's what that looks like. Unfortunately though, he doesn't get much in the way of hunching forward. He does however get side to side tilt and twist. Below the unpainted belt, and Superman Superman has the standard McFarlane hips. They can kick this high, not much back though, but he does get a perfect split, an okay amount of twist in the hip, double jointed knee with a nice deep bend, toe articulation, and ankle balls that can swivel, hinge, and like me clearly rushing this part so I can talk about Godzilla, pivot. As for Godzilla, he might be king of the monsters, but in terms of articulation, he hardly rules. From the top, we have a swivel in the neck. I gotta say though, the joint is nicely hidden by the sculpt. Additionally, he's got a hinge in the jaw, swivel shoulders, swivel hips, along with a swivel tail with a bendy wire. So a couple of observations. With Playmates having the main license for domestic Godzilla toys, they may have been limited in what they could give this figure, but from a pricing standpoint, it makes sense as well. I would love a Godzilla with things like swivel hinge shoulders, elbow and wrist articulation, along with knees and ankles, but this set was already $80 and any additional joints would have jacked the price up even more. For Poseability, Godzilla gets an okay 3 points, held back by the torso articulation however, and Superman gets 4 points. Save Mothra! Moving on to Playability, and Superman and Godzilla come with a trading card and a figure stand. Seems that they not only removed Wonder Woman, but also erased Batman as well. If you want to read more about the cataclysmic crossover event of the year, you can pause here. Otherwise, in terms of accessories, Superman comes preloaded with these fists, but also has a pair of flight hands. Kinda looks like Godzilla's about to step on him, but hey, we don't kink shame around here. They're also good for making it look like he's shouting, "Hey, Godzilla! You're ugly and your Mothra dresses you funny!" What's that? We already did a Mothra joke? One additional play feature on Superman is that wired cloth goods cape. You know, I'm a sucker for these. This one is also wired at the bottom, offering even more display potential. Otherwise, and Godzilla gets an accessory, a tiny little Superman. It's 3 inches tall, or 7.5 centimeters, making it 1/24th scale. It's also mostly reuse of the Rebirth Superman I looked at a long time ago in this video. The only difference being the belt, which, come to think of it, also doesn't have painted loops. Also, no S on the back, but that's understandable. He has a ball joint in the neck, but all he really gets is side to side. There's also ball joints in the shoulders, so in addition to swivel, he also gets up and down, twist in the waist, and ball jointed hips that can not only kick, they also get a very small amount of split. Is it in scale with Godzilla? Absolutely not. This version of Godzilla is supposed to be 200 feet tall. By comparison, this Red Guardian action figure accessory is only 1 inch tall, and even that's too big. In fact, I did the math, and for a Godzilla figure to be in scale with this Superman, that Godzilla would have to be 8 feet tall. So yeah, the scaling might be off, but for toy purposes, I don't care. It might surprise you to know that I actually like these little guys. They put me in mind of the old comic book heroes or pocket superheroes lines by Mego, and if McFarlane sold them on their own without a comic for like $3 or $4, I'd buy a bunch of them. I don't think Hasbro's doing 1/24th scale, so I'd love to see McFarlane be able to increase their Marvel presence that way. While we're on that subject, Marvel is currently doing their own Godzilla crossover, so don't forget to have fun with your small-scale Marvel figures too. But Playability is more than just musing about miniature Marvel figures I wish McFarlane Toys could make. It's also about how well your figures play with others. Beginning with Batman, and here's the blue and gray and black and gray version of Nightfall. I do like how these blues go together. For even darker options, here's the Comic-Con exclusive and No Man's Land versions. But for something blue and gray and bigger, here's the Platinum Edition Spawn version. These scale great for one last night though, and here's the blue and gray and black and gray versions of Hush. It's worth noting they used the black and gray version of Hush to go with Kong. For the last member of the DC Trinity, and here's Wonder Woman. I love how the blues and reds go together on the collector edition. As for Gal Gadot, I brought her out because that's the body they're using for the comic Wonder Woman that comes with Atomic Breath Godzilla. Now I'm mainly interested in using this as a base body for a molded Superman from that JLA New World Order era. With that in mind, here's classic and hook hand versions of Aquaman. As for Green Lantern, for a couple of Hal's Jordan, here's Silver Age and Walmart. But going back to the JLA, and here's my favorite Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. Next up is the way too short Clark, Martian Manhunter, along with Flashpoint and Rebirth versions of Barry Allen while we wait for a proper 90s Flash. Of course, the problem with the darker costume is it doesn't really match other members of the Superman family. Not that they even match themselves from figure to figure. Still, depending on the character, I could see it being vexing to some. For the only real Godzilla comparison I can make, and here's the old 80s one by Imperial, not gonna lie, seeing these two together is really cool. That said, for a relative scale comparison, here's Superman and Godzilla with Pizza Spidey and the spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Now I know if there was ever a Superman figure you'd want me to swap out heads with, it would be this one. But with so many options I want to try out, that's gonna need its own video. For now, and for playability, I'm giving Superman 3 points, though had he come with an alternate static head, I'd have given him 5. Godzilla, however, gets 4 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Other sets in this wave have gone for $70. This set, however, is $80. Thanks to that tail, Godzilla is much bigger than Kong or Titano, and of course Superman has the wired cloth goods cape, so while I might not love the price, I get it. To be honest, I was relieved that it was only $80. I keep seeing the other sets be discounted, so it's always possible this one will be available for cheaper as well. Of course, if you want Godzilla but not Superman, you could always hold out for the Wonder Woman set. As for this set, for price, I'm giving it 3 points, giving Godzilla a total of 4 out of 5, and Superman a total of 3.6 out of 5. Sound off in the comments and let me know what you think. While you're down there, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my upcoming head swap showcase. For more videos while you wait, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun. Moving on to present day. What is it with me today?